I always thought that Netflix was crazy not to get into live sports sooner than they did. Those guys truly have a global footprint. I think they're late to the game, but it was a big success.
The performance of the broadcast, did that give you pause to do business with Netflix at all?
I didn't think the event was a great event, but they needed to do that. They knew Mike Tyson was going to bring in big.
Dana White has spoken, and his disappointment hit harder than any punch in the ring. The fury in his eyes said it all. Boxing's reputation just took...
He gets mad when I do this, but Mike's 60, man. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time.
A devastating blow, thanks to a legend and a problem child. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul didn't just embarrass themselves. They tarnished the integrity of an entire sport. Training videos, trash talk, fake threats, turns out it was all as hollow as the fight itself. Fans expected a genuine clash.
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
Of skill and legacy. What they got, a pre-rehearsed charade. Leaked footage now allegedly shows Tyson and Paul rehearsing the fight, not sparring, not strategizing, but practicing like they were auditioning for a community theater play titled
Put together a training camp and come in and, I don't like to see guys fighting it. A 31-year age difference during that fight. Just, you guys know what I think of that stuff.
How to scam fans in 10 rounds or less. It's an insult to everyone who believed in them. This wasn't boxing, it was cosplay. Fans paid top dollar for tickets, pay-per-view streams, and overpriced merch, only to realize they'd been duped. A sport built on grit and authenticity now feels like a joke. How are fans supposed to trust boxing again? Tyson and Jake didn't just disappoint, they disrespected the very foundation of the sport. What should have been a historic moment became a pre-planned routine. To destroy something legendary only takes two forces working in opposite directions. Tyson and
it was a bit of a shit show, but, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy f***, I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Jake proved they were up for the task. Let's not pretend this disaster didn't come with a massive payday. Mike Tyson reportedly walked away with $20 million for this so-called fight, while Jake Paul pocketed somewhere between $40 million.
There's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
Millions, folks. For what? A performance so contrived it would embarrass even professional wrestling. Dana White, the UFC boss, took one look at this mess and lit it up. He called it a circus act. Though that's unfair to circuses, where clowns are at least honest about their act. This was a slap in the face to every real fighter who's ever bled, broken bones, or risked it all for their sport. White.
My biggest problem with the Jake Paul thing is, and how this plays out, is when he actually fought somebody who was a boxer, who had the same type of record he has, who is his age,
Tommy,
and who is his size, he lost.
Wasn't just mad. He was furious, labeling the entire spectacle a stain on boxing's already shaky reputation. And yes, a fight script leaked online before the event. This wasn't some vague outline. It detailed every move, like a bizarre screenplay. Tyson's aggressive opening? Scripted. Jake Paul's cautious approach? Scripted. The fifth-round drama where someone nearly gets knocked out? Scripted.
Well, X has spoken. The fight was scripted. Everyone is talking about this on X, and the script was actually leaked on X a few days ago.
When the fight finally happened, it matched the leaked script so perfectly it felt like watching a spoiler-filled movie trailer for a film no one asked for. The fight itself was a joke. Tyson, once a fearsome force in the ring, looked like he was going through the motions. His signature bob and weave was there, but the fire and intensity? Gone. As for Jake Paul...
When the bell rings, Tyson is showing flashes of his old form, which actually happened. As soon as the bell went, Mike Tyson came out with that head movement, pushing forward. Immediately he stalks forward with his signature bob and weave style.
His movements were a carbon copy of the script. What should have been a battle of skill became a soulless cash grab, and boxing's reputation took the hit. It was almost painful to watch. Fans didn't see boxing, they witnessed a sad parody wrapped in glitz and hype. This wasn't a fight, it was a live-action scam, and millions of dollars were spent on it. Dana White didn't hold back either. He didn't.
Under any circumstances, almost 60-year-old man shouldn't be fighting a 27-year-old guy, even if it's Mike Tyson. So my biggest problem with the Jake Paul thing is, and how this plays out, is when he actually fought somebody who was a boxer, who had the same type of record he has, who was his age, Tommy, and who was his size, he lost.
Just call it a joke. He torched Jake Paul's entire career. White pointed out the obvious. Paul keeps picking opponents who are either way past their prime or have no business in a boxing ring. It's like his matchmaking strategy is to find the oldest, slowest fighters, then act shocked when he wins. White's frustration boiled over as he blasted Paul.
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
For dodging real fighters, the ones who've dedicated their lives to mastering the sport. Every jab, every dodge, every dramatic moment of the fight was choreographed like a low-budget drama. Imagine.
What do I think of the Mike Tyson fight?
Yes.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
Imagine being Dana White running the UFC, where fighters sacrifice everything for a shot at glory, only to watch Jake Paul and Mike Tyson turn boxing into a mockery. White didn't sugarcoat it. This wasn't boxing, it was bad theater. And Jake Paul? White roasted him for avoiding real challenges, cherry-picking legends far past their prime to pad his record.
If you can keep fighting 50-something-year-olds...
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
And making a living at it. I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody.
He exposed Paul's shtick for what it really is, a calculated scam designed to boost his ego without ever taking a real risk. And Tyson? Dana White didn't hold back. There was no sympathy for a legend cashing in on an easy $20 million payday. White's anger wasn't just about this fight. It was a warning.
The Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight.
Interesting.
Script.
How so? What do you mean by
It's just
script?
weird. It's just...
Like scripted in what way?
No, I don't know. I actually really like Jake.
Boxing, he argued, is being hijacked by influencers who mistake fake punches and staged drama for skill. This wasn't a competition, it was a cheap stunt to sell tickets. Tyson and Paul didn't deliver the fight fans hoped for. They put on a show no one wanted. Here's the sting. Fans paid good money for this.
Mike Tyson's just been beat off Jake Paul. But how? Mike Tyson's an absolute legend and one of the greatest fighters of all time. How can this YouTuber beat such a great fight?
They shelled out hard-earned cash expecting an iconic clash of eras, a genuine test of grit and skill. Instead, they got a glorified sparring session dressed up as a competitive fight. Sure, the event pulled massive pay-per-view sales, because people love a spectacle, but what they got wasn't boxing. It was a soulless performance that disrespected the sport and its fans alike. Mike Tyson did...
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of... In Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time, I mean, if you didn't think that that's the way the fight, I don't know what people expect.
Didn't even need the money. With his booming cannabis empire, countless endorsement deals, and royalties from a legendary career, his place in history was already secure. So why stoop to this level? It's not like he lacked options. He could have done anything else, but instead he chose to attach his name to what's now being called one of the biggest jokes in boxing history.
If he wants to do boxing, why not fight guys that actually box for a living?
100%. Fight guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?
He says he wants to fight Canelo.
And Jake Paul, let's not pretend this was ever about the sport. It wasn't about proving himself as a legitimate boxer. It was about creating another clickbait headline. Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson. Practically writes itself, and you can bet he's plastering that all over social media. Never mind that Tyson is nearly 3 decades older and well past his prime. Jake's strategy is clear. Cherry-pick opponents who look impressive on paper but pose no real threat in the ring. It's not boxing, it's marketing. Calculated, hollow, and all about the spotlight. Who paid the ultimate price for this circus? The fans, of course. They tuned in hoping for something memorable, something historic. Instead, they got an emotional slap in the face. This wasn't boxing, it was a soap opera with gloves. The betrayal was palpable. Fans expected authenticity and instead were handed a pre-rehearsed scam dripping with hollow theatrics, straight out of a bad reality show. Even the referees seemed in on the joke. Their exaggerated interventions and oddly timed pauses only fueled suspicions that this was more theater than sport. At one point, it felt like they were auditioning for supporting roles in this disaster. Fans noticed, and they weren't shy about voicing their disgust. Social media erupted with hashtags like fake fight and sue Jake Paul as outraged viewers demanded refunds and even legal action for being misled. The backlash was relentless. Memes flooded the internet faster than Jake Paul dodges real competition. Tyson's lackluster punches, Jake's over-the-top celebrations, nothing was spared. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were furious. This wasn't just a bad fight, it was outright betrayal. Some even called for Tyson and Paul to face legal consequences for what they saw as blatant false advertising, and honestly, can you blame them? When you pay to see a fight, you expect a real fight, not a choreographed stunt designed to pad the wallets of 2 opportunists. Let's be clear, Tyson and Paul aren't losing any sleep over this. For them, it's all about the money and the headlines. Integrity, respect for the fans, forget it. They're too busy swimming in their piles of cash to care about the mess they've left behind. Fans wanted boxing and got a con job instead.